Do you remember the time that you were wearing one of these all the time? Almost everywhere you went? Is it my impression, or after COVID our in-person interactions become a little bit more difficult? Did we all become a little bit more introverted? You even see people that are celebrating, canceling plans to meet people in person and staying at home. Maybe we didn't become more introverted. Maybe we adapted to isolation and never really fully recalibrated. And the longer adaptations go unchallenged, the more they become our identity. In this video, I'm going to tell you how Argentine Tango is maybe the fastest way to recalibrate your brain, learn to read people again, and take back something that maybe modern life took away from us. For those 2 years of the pandemic, our brains learned to adjust to isolation, learned that the closeness, the proximity to another person is a danger, is at risk, learned that even our breaths were a risk to each other, were a danger to each other. So it learned that distance was safety, and we adjusted to that. Our brains adjusted to that and learned that distance is safety. But this is an adaptation that took some time to happen, and we took some time to adjust, and in the beginning was strange. When the world started reopening, you can't just flip a switch on your brain and start becoming back to normal. Things have to be retrained. Your brain needs to learn again that proximity and closeness is not a risk, and being close to another person is not really a danger anymore. Tango forces exactly that. Repeated exposure to closeness. You are chest to chest with another person. There's no screen between you, there's no buffer between you. You have to interact with somebody in real time, in person. Over time, your brain relearns that proximity is not anymore a danger, that being close to somebody else is not a risk for your health. And slowly, you learn to accept back this proximity and closeness in your life. And this proximity and closeness helps you co-regulate your emotions with another person. And there's one specific element in Tango that makes this co-regulation unfairly effective at this moment. But I'll come to that in a moment. By the way, if you're new here, welcome to Goodnight Tango. I'm Christos, I'm dancing tango for 9 years now, and for the last 4 years I'm also writing about that in my blog. And I'm really obsessed with how tango changes our lives beyond the dance floor. Now, this retraining your brain to accept the proximity and the closeness is not even the most interesting part, because there's one more thing that we forgot to do during those 2 years of the pandemic. All our interactions were reduced to Zoom calls and texts and home deliveries, and the in-person interaction got a bit more difficult. Because in person, you don't have this buffer. You don't have the time to edit what you wrote or to rethink and write something later. You have to interact in real time at that moment. There is no way to take back what you said and readjust it, say it in another way. And when the interaction gets difficult, those awkward moments, those pauses feel even more loaded. In Tango, we actually learn to read people and we actually learn to interact with each other using all the other communication signals apart from what we used during COVID. During COVID, when you had, for example, a Zoom call in the best case scenario, you would probably see the facial expression, you would probably hear the tone of the voice of the other person. That is one part of the communication that happens between two people. But apart from that, there is also body language, there's also all other things that you feel when you are close to another person. So learning to dance tango actually strengthens all those communication signals that were weakened during those 2 years of the pandemic. But our communication skills are not the only thing that weakened during the pandemic. There is an even deeper deficit that developed during these 2 years, and something that I already mentioned at the beginning. Do you remember when I said that there's an element in tango that makes it especially powerful for emotional co-regulation at the moment? This is it. But in order to understand this, let me ask you a question. Let's say that you're cooking in your kitchen and you left a cupboard open and somehow you forget about that and you hit your head in it. What's the first reaction that you do? What's the first thing that you do? If you're somebody like me, you could go like, ugh, and then maybe curse until you relax a little bit and then you continue with your cooking. Have you noticed what is the first reaction that you usually have when you have an accident, when you have a pain? Ugh. The first reaction is to touch it, because touching it sends a signal to your brain that the danger is over. everything is okay, you can go back to normal now. And for years, we learned to reduce this touch to a risk. During the pandemic, touching somebody else and being in close proximity with somebody else was a danger, was a risk. So we learned that this touching, and especially the caressing touch, the soft caressing touch, is something that it is a danger, and we started avoiding it. But as you realize, touch is a crucial aspect of emotional co-regulation. When you have stress, when you have pain, touching from yourself or from another person to the pain point that you have is one of the best ways to regulate your emotions. And this doesn't go only for physical pain, but also for emotional pain. Think about being in a big sorrow, for example, somebody you loved passed away. What is the gesture that most of the people do? They hug each other. Because this touch, this hug, actually tells us that, yes, there is pain, but now you can feel safe, you can feel okay again, and return back to your normal state. And of course, it doesn't happen from one minute to another, but it is a gesture that helps in this calming down and regulating your emotions. Tango introduces exactly that, sustained, safe, and structured touch. It's not random, it's not invasive, and it's consent-based. And this touch is something that we probably missed in order to get back to normal from COVID, in order to understand that, things are now back to normal. Whatever was stressing you during this period, all the danger and all the fear that you were experiencing during this period, now are going away, and now you can calm down and get to the normal state. So tango is not just dancing. I would say it's a group emotional co-regulation through touch. And I remember myself when I returned back to dancing after COVID. I remember the first times that I had to embrace another partner and dance with them. And yes, it felt so strange and so awkward because I had two emotions. On the one side, I was feeling the danger, I was feeling the fear of the embrace because for a couple of years, I was thinking that being close to another person apart from maybe my partner at home was danger. And that was what my mind was telling me. And on the other side, my body was telling me, you know what? It's okay. You need this. You need to be hugged and you need to hug somebody else. And the moment I started dancing and the moment I started giving in to this fear and this danger that I was feeling and letting my body enjoy the hug, enjoy the embrace, I realized that this danger was only in my mind. And now slowly it was going away and the fear was going away. And this hug, this embrace with other people in tango was helping me get back to normal again. So if you think of it, we live in a world that reopened after a big shock. We were introduced to a shock for 2 years and we learned to adjust our lives, and we learned that proximity was a danger and closeness was a danger and the breath of other people was a danger, and we learned to avoid each other. And when we switched back to normal, our minds never really recalibrated. Starting tango now builds all these three capacities that we avoided, that we reduced during the COVID years. It retrains our brain to feel safe when we are in close proximity. It restores our ability to read other people, apart from the facial expressions and the tone in the voice. And it introduces safe, structured, consent-based touch as a mechanism for emotional co-regulation to calm us down and to bring us back from the stress that we lived during these 2 years. And the thing is, the more you delay to readjust yourself and recalibrate yourself, your brain, and to feel okay under this proximity and closeness, and to relearn to read people when you are in face-to-face interactions, the harder it gets. So starting tango now isn't just about adding a new activity in your life. It's about refusing to let a temporary survival mechanism define you for the rest of your life. It's about refusing to let distance define you for the rest of your life. And if you know somebody that lately keeps saying that I don't feel the same as before socially, maybe this is a good video to share with them. Not just as a proposal to start dancing, but as a way to see things in a different way. Because the conversation is much bigger than Tango, and it leads to the next question. Even if you rebuild yourself and your capacity to connect with people, maybe you live in a system, in a world full of systems that drag you back into isolation. In this video, I discuss how Tango relates with the current loneliness epidemic and how the systems that currently promise us more connection maybe give us more loneliness in the end. Check it out and don't forget to move forward both in the dance floor and in your life. Bye! And if you think that this person...